When your child's going to high school, into any year at high school, one of the things you need to think about is how you're going to be organised. How are you going to be organised with their gear? How are you going to be organised with their space? And how are you going to be organised with their time? First step is to get to the back to school sales. Work out what gear they need and what gear they're going to run out of, usually on a Sunday night before the assessment task is due and after the shops have shut. And that's the time that they will remember that they need cardboard or glue, or they need texters, or they need new printer cartridge. That's the time to remember, is Sunday night. So what things will your child need, and where are you going to keep them so that they're not all used up all of the time? So make sure you've got the gear. It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be the top of the line, but it does need to be replenished. So on my grocery list, I top up glue sticks, I top up pens, lead pencils, sharpeners. The other one that we find can cause all sorts of grief is when the exercise book is full on Friday and we have to have a new one on Monday, but we forget that until we're packing our bag on Monday morning. And so I also keep a stack of exercise books and paper ready to go. Then having your backup plans. What's your backup plan for the day that the printer doesn't work? Because inevitably, the printer won't work on the day before the assessment task is due. Have you got spare ink? Have you got extra papers? Somewhere that's not out for public access in your home. What are your plans about computer access? If you have 3 children and all 3 of them have an assignment due tomorrow, who has the priority? How do you manage that without yelling, screaming and blood on the carpet? The next thing to think about is how much stuff a child's going to have. Because when they start year 7, you get this lovely book pack and it looks really neat and tidy, and you feel like that might be all you're going to have to worry about, but it's not. And what you get in year 7, you need to keep it together until year 10. Because the learning from what happens in year 7 adds to year 8, adds to year 9, adds to year 10, adds to year 11, adds to year 12. So keeping that gear organised is really important. If you organise it yourself at the beginning of year 7, they're not going to take any ownership of it. As challenging as it was, I let my year 7 son get in a mess, a big mess, with his paperwork. And then sat down with him and said, no mate, this isn't going to work for you. This is not going to be useful for you. You're going to have to remember this stuff. Showed him how his year 7 maths would then be needed as he moves through year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11. So we sat down and we put all his work into folders. We just bought cheap Marbig folders because they're not being carried anywhere, they're not going anywhere. And he has all of his folders in a box. One of his sisters has a bookcase and all her folders are on the bookcase, and they're very neat and tidy and ordered and structured because that's the sort of child she is. Another one of his sisters has her work beautifully lined up on her desk, all in coloured folders, all labelled, just lovely. That's who she is. Another one of his sisters has it in bundles and folders with writing and pictures and things all over them, and it's all different again. The thing is that all of them are organised in their own way, and one of the challenges as a parent is to work out which child needs which form of organisation, because they have to be comfortable with it. And then you've got time, and time is a very precious resource. Our kids are into sport, so there's a lot of organising with times for training and who's picking up and who's dropping off and who's going to be where, and how's the homework going to fit into that. One of the hardest things to show, particularly our son, is that if you have football on Friday, your assignment is actually due on Thursday, not the Monday after, but the day before. And if you've got football on Friday and you've got training on Thursday night and you've got training on Wednesday night and you're going to be away the whole weekend before, when are you going to do the assignment? And that's why we've gone to a big wall calendar so that he can see where he's got time. Because just writing down dates, he can't see where he's got time. So putting it on the big calendar means he can see. Then we had another complexity. In this house at the moment, we've got university student, TAFE student, Stage 5 student, Stage 4 student, Stage 3 student. Everybody's assignments need proofreading on the same night. There is only one mother. And I can't proofread everybody's assignment on the same night. So instead of having the kids all on different calendars, we started putting everybody onto one so that they could see how to share the resources in the house. Cuts down on the carnage just a little bit. So it's about that communication. It's about knowing who's got what due and when. It's not fair to say the HSC student or the Year 10 student's work is a priority all the time, because the other ones have got the right to the time and the computer and the DVD player as well. So how do you balance that? How do you set that up? And a lot of it comes down to talking it through and being organised. Being organised beforehand, thinking about what causes stress and getting in ahead, being proactive about that stuff. So we need, as a family, to think about what gear is needed, what equipment, what space and how you're going to use space, how you're going to manage the resources in the family, and how you're going to manage time. If, as a family, you can work those things out, the family and the student can happily survive from Year 7 to Year 12. It's about getting in early and knowing how those things are going to be organised.
And you'll find more information to help with high school study, including a printable homework planner, at schoolatz.com.au.